Well, folks, today we have a potential leak for the Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Con. Now, I want to note here, obviously, that we're talking about a potential leak. We don't really know if this is legit or not. We do have some images and stuff to look at here, so we're not just talking about people saying stuff about the actual Joy-Cons for the Switch 2. We're talking about actually looking at the damn things ourselves. But we can make our own determinations and all that. I just want to remind you guys to be uber skeptical on anything like this that we can't confirm in any way. This isn't like when we had the prototype leaks from October of 2023. Those prototype leaks were obviously much more easily able to be verified than this, but it is something coming from China. We'll have to see what happens with it. I'm really excited to dive into it, though, and any of the potential that this stuff might offer. And I want to make sure that we are fully transparent here, that we have no idea if there's any legitimacy to this. So please, please, please keep your skepticism levels very high. All right, before we dive in, I want to remind you, you want to stay up to date on all the latest rumors, leaks, speculation, everything going on with Switch 2 and more. Go ahead and subscribe right here to Nintendo Prime. All right, so we're going to head on over to this place called NinTalk. This is actually a new forum that we're running here. NinTalk over here. We'll have a link down in the description to this thread, our future Nintendo technology thread. And this forum is obviously for all of you Nintendo fans out there that want to go to a place to talk without, restrictions and stuff like that about the latest going on with Nintendo, including obviously Switch 2. And a user over here posted something that is really, really interesting. So Votlin here says, a user on Bilibili, which is a Shanghai-based Chinese video sharing website, allegedly shared some pictures of the new Switch 2 Joy-Cons. Now there's views of IR cameras, a larger SL and SR buttons, an extra button on the back that looks like a pedal. So let's go ahead and full screen this and kind of start from the beginning. So this is not the full video on Bilibili. This is just kind of like the important bits for our cases. Because look, I can't understand what the guy is saying anyways, right? So we'll just get this video playing. And as you see here, so the biggest thing you notice here is that everything is blurry. And this kind of is the red flag, right? The big red flag is that everything is blurry. And because everything is blurry, it makes it very hard to know if there's any legitimacy to what's being shown. Because while this does look better than people that we saw that 3D printed the CAD files that were leaked a while back, so this does look better than that, it's still so blurry as to, hey, we can't rule out that these are just better 3D model prints, right? We can't rule that out. Like if we could actually see full unfiltered stuff here, we would then be able to get a much closer look. Now the white and black does match a prior rumor about there being a white and black theme for the launch model, essentially kind of like what the Nintendo Switch OLED launched with the white Joy-Cons, right? That was more like a white and black color scheme. If they're going to launch it with this, that I find to be really interesting because that was the most recent Nintendo device to launch was with the white, but hey, it is what it is. So what you're seeing throughout this video is just speculation and talk by the person. So like what's being circled here down at the bottom, those are supposedly IR sensors for better motion tracking. Now we do know the current Nintendo Switch Joy-Con has an IR sensor at the bottom of the right Joy-Con. This appears to have one on each, but this appears to just be for pure motion tracking rather than the camera sort of functionality it was trying to use before, where you could in 1-2 switch, like pretend you're eating a sub sandwich and stuff like that. These other parts here, I don't know, they relate to some sort of diagram about how like the electromagnets and stuff work. I don't really get it. Obviously, some of you guys that are more technically enhanced can do this. This is showing off the ZL button there, and then obviously that extra button that appears to be just a trigger button. The assumption here is that this is how you would release the magnetic way. So you click that little button and boom, it would just pop off. That's what we assume. It could also just be literally an extra function button. It's not like we know. And then before this scene here, it showed them looking at the much bigger SR and SL buttons, which one, thank you, because they're really dang dinky on the current Joy-Con. Two, does this mean we don't need a strap? Is this like in lieu of having a strap? I'm sure there will be some sort of strap just for motion purposes, so you're not chucking your Joy-Con 2s here at a screen or whatever. But it is nice that those buttons are a little bigger, probably a bit more clickier. Maybe there's magnets behind them. Again, we've sort of had the magnet stuff proven true, that there's some sort of magnetism involved with clicking these things in. But yeah, that is really essentially the big leak here, is that. But we could do some comparisons here. So we have obviously here from Mike Straw Insider Gaming. These are all like the CAD files we saw earlier that came with the actual pictures that were leaks of a prototype. And you can see that like it looks like you can kind of see like down here a little bit where the IR camera might be. But it looks very, very similar in many cases to what we just saw. And we obviously have like some actual images, like these are supposedly prototypes. So when we have like these prototypes, you can kind of look at this and compare and see, yeah, the SL and SR buttons are quite large, but they're not quite as high as they were on the ones we just saw. These are definitely more flush. So that's something to consider, that maybe they decided to go with a higher design rather than a more flush design. You can obviously see the hole back here where that one button is. We've seen that in several different looks here. And then obviously we get to here where you can see these ones look a little bit more raised than it did on the actual image one. But again, the actual image one's not final. And then this is obviously a legitimate prototype leak that we had, that we clearly could tell that this was injection molded. This is the real motherboard, all that stuff, October 2023. So when we kind of compare them, it makes a bit more sense. And when I say compare, we actually have someone who just put up just the images here, Pori over on X here, put up the images here, and you'll see just, yeah, you can kind of get a decent look here without the red circles and stuff, how this really matches. One thing that's a little weird is like this joystick, their thumb appears to be on it. Looks like it's slightly tilted, but it could just be the camera angle. Could be some funky stuff going on there. Maybe this is also a concave, instead of a convex. So that's something to consider with the joysticks. So there's a lot of concern around the joysticks, obviously, because of Nintendo Switch and its issues with all of the drifting. And just to kind of show the original source, because I do believe that it's important that we do things like that, we'll go right back here to Votland over here on the Nintalk forums, and then we'll just open it up so you guys can see for yourself. We can even translate this to English if you want. This is the full video, and it's pretty wild down in the comment section. This person, I believe their username is what, Mario68. So Mario68 out in China on Bilibili put all this stuff up, and in one of the comment threads he like says, hey, this thing, the earliest it could come out is May. He's claiming that he knows things about shipping data, which we already have some fact-based information on shipping data that suggests it could come even before May, but May is definitely one of the possibilities. So I don't know. This person doesn't have a very reliable track record, by the way. Mario68 has posted stuff earlier this year on his channel that it appears did not come true. So I'm very curious if they're claiming supposedly they have their own private source for these images. It's also possible that these images come from anywhere else, right? They could come from any number of social media websites that are in China that none of us scour. So these might not even be new to people in China. We don't know where these images originated from. Obviously, he's claiming it came from manufacturing, but I can't verify that, nor can really anybody else as far as I can tell. And I've been everywhere from family boards and Reddit and Twitter and Blue Sky and different forums and, the Nintalk forum. None of us can seem to prove that these are fake, but we can't seem to prove that they're real either because everything's just too blurry. When the images are so blurry, there's only so much you can do with it. So take it with a massive grain of salt. It's not from someone who's known to be reliable out of China. This isn't someone with a huge track record. And we got to remember that just because something comes from China, where people live closer to the actual factories making the components and doing assembly, it doesn't mean that everyone who lives in China has connections to people working in manufacturing for Nintendo. That's like saying because I live in the United States, I must have a developer friend at Retro Studios. No, I do not. So I do find it to be interesting how we sometimes jump to conclusions and just assume believability just because it's in a foreign language that's in an area of the world that is closer to manufacturing. Is it more likely that they have friends in manufacturing than me? Obviously, but I don't think that this necessarily makes it believable. So I have a lot of skepticism up here. Now, the big thing, though, is that is this really misleading us? Well, based on what we saw with the prototype earlier, and I'll bring this prototype backup for you guys. You know, based on what we saw with this whole prototype stuff, it's probably not that misleading anyways. You know, they're really just showing us things that we should already assume to be fairly correct. I know that these designs are from October of 2023, but it's still something that just seems so plausible. Honestly, I just feel like at this point, we just need Nintendo to reveal this damn thing. We can stop all this stupid stuff with leaks and rumors, or at least most of the stuff. There'll still be rumors about games and certain features, but a lot of this just goes away the moment Nintendo reveals the system. And we know that there's a current rumor about a reveal in January, release in March. Lots of people just think that's bullshit. Some people think, well, that person actually has a little bit of a track record, which they do, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's real. So in the end, we're just stuck twiddling our thumbs waiting, and this is the kind of stuff we get in the meantime. If this is a real manufacturing leak, then Nintendo needs to be pretty careful here, because we're going to eventually get better images, and the entire system could leak, let alone the retail box. It all can end up leaking at some point here over the next month. So if this is real leaks from manufacturing, then Nintendo better be prepared, because the whole thing is going to come out. It's going to all be out there before you even reveal it. Then again, maybe not, because maybe Nintendo's revealing it at the Game Awards, which I highly doubt. I highly doubt it. But hey, crazier things have happened. Like Xbox Series X being revealed at the Game Awards with Hellblade 2. That wasn't a launch game. In fact, wasn't a game that came out until like last year. Oh my god. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Robojets from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch each and every one of you in the next video.